So, some of you wonderful people have been asking about my journey to work and what it's like. Well, here's my 55 minute journey compressed into 10. So we're just in the car here, which is exactly the same as my car. It turns off. Just after it turns off, there's the new school that's being built up towards the Toyota plant. So here we have the traffic lights, and over the far side is the Toyota plant, and the police cruiser just shot past. I'm going to go a bit slower along. So we're just coming up to Pittock Lake, and over the left side is a huge lake which ends with a dam, and it's basically a reservoir, and it looks back towards Woodstock. So here we're just about to turn at Ray's Auto Sales, and this is where I start the journey north, and this road is pretty much straight all the way, and it runs for about 20 minutes, and I think it just crosses over two junctions along the way. And you're about to hear some ham radio. I think the guys are down in Florida to So just after the house in a moment, if you look in the field, there's some squares. These are huge solar panels. They're probably about 20 foot across each, and they're popping up all over the places on farms at the moment. And the reason is that the farmers can sell the electricity into the grid and make their money back. Just stopping for the stop sign, you actually have to come to a complete standstill. If you don't, I think you get fined something like about $60. Not very well regulated, but everybody does actually stop. Apart from me, I nearly stop. Keep looking around in a minute. I show distances, views across the fields. Basically you can just see for a very long way either side most of this route up, and it's all pretty much flat land. So this begins the long straight roads. Interesting enough, just the last few days the snow's gone off the roads because it's been ploughed and like de-iced, and it's just gone. And also the wind has blown so hard that it's blown it off a lot of the fields, so you can actually see some colour on the fields again rather than just white. So this is about 30 minutes into the journey, I suppose, and we're just going to turn onto Highway 7/8, and that heads easterly towards Kitchener, and I'm going to be on this road for probably another 20 minutes. Initially it's a dual carriageway with no barrier in the middle, and it can be a bit dicey when it's snowy and people slide a little bit, and shortly He says sarcastically, there's something you don't see that often. It's a Tim Hortons coffee place. It's a bit like a drive-through McDonald's, but for coffee and donuts. And they're absolutely everywhere. So just shortly we're going to come up to where the central reservation opens a little bit and the crash barrier starts. The crash barrier is a little piece of grass and then it ends up in being a ditch. And that's maybe, I don't know, 15-20 foot across eventually. But it's like this closer you get into Kitchener. And there's a hill on the left hand side which is a salt glacier. You can't quite see it yet, but it has a radio mast in it. There it is, and that's at Baden, which is like Baden, B-A-D-E-N. So you notice from here on in the traffic starts to pick up a bit, becomes a bit busier. Closer we come to Kitchener, we're still probably about 10 minutes off, and then Kitchener is quite a large town, like I don't know, maybe twice the size of Basildon. Approach the exit that I might come off, which is Fisher Horman, and this is it here. And I actually come off at the next one, but sometimes the traffic tails back here, which is not very common, but if it does tail back here, then I'm probably in for an extra 15 minutes of very, very slow moving before I come off at this junction, which for the life of me I can't think what it's called, but this is the normal junction that I come off, and we're going to double back over to the right in a minute. Now this is quite interesting. When I came here 3 years ago, all the vehicles tended to be the big gas guzzlers, the SUVs and trucks, and now there's a lot more smaller cars on the road. The petrol prices are shooting up. In a minute you'll see a gas station, and I think the gas price is $1.09 a litre, which I know is probably is half what England pays, but still it's all relative to road. It's full of potholes, bumps, stumps. It's like a patchwork quilt. And here I think there's a KFC and a couple of little variety stores on the right. They're just typical sort of small plaza in a downtown place. And then the gas station is just over here with the green hoarding. You can't really read the figures there, but it is about $1.09. On the right hand side, or almost dead in front of us, the dark buildings are a brand new housing estate that's just gone up, and I think this is about as compact as I've ever seen any housing in Canada. It's just it's used a bit of land. It's typical British build. Well, I turn in here and just cut through the back to an industrial estate. So here we go, we can turn in. All these houses, I say, are probably less than a year old, and the road's not properly made up yet. So we're going to turn to the left somewhere here, and in front you'll see a huge building, and that's where I work. So here we go, what can we see as we turn? The huge building. And it's me parked up for the day. So that basically is about a 50-55 minute journey compressed up to about 10. And that's repeated every day. And what I do along the way is I play on my ham radio and talk to people probably halfway around the world, certainly right across the States, every morning and every evening. Someone different every day. And there's a guy I talk to in Cuba every morning. He's a fair stretch. So that's what I do to lose the 50 minutes of boredom.